Thank you, Carolina. So let me begin first with expressing my heartfelt gratitude for Amit, for Andres. In the beginning, we have exchanged the emails, Asrat, Carolina, and the ZEF, and all those who actually joined us in this hall and also in digital space. Thank you. Welcome to all. And I'll try to observe the clock religiously and will put my all the debate in a given time so we could have a meaningful discussion later on. So let's begin it. This is basically a part of my ongoing project at Academy of International Affairs. It's about the Kartarpur Corridor, having like a heritage beyond borders, a translocal and subnational diplomacy initiative. Generally, Pakistan and India, both their relations always been viewed, analyzed through the hardcore, like realist, power-obsessed, realist actually school of thought, so dominated by the deterrence-driven logics. And also, the peace always been imagined through the top-down approach with these like a summit, outcome of summits, elite engagements, treaties, or bilateral or formal diplomacy. And look where we have it today. After even 7 decades, what Pakistan and India both are doing, every year increasing the military defense budget, more and more military deployments on the borders. And, and with the recurring actually diplomatic failures and even the frozen rivalry. But there is one window, one actually such initiative in all this that is still since it's open in 2019, it's functioning, it endured, it resisted. It's not a military actually like a hotline, which is for some emergency conflict management initiative. It's not even a trade route, which actually somewhere costing like billions of dollar economy. It's not even like a backdoor diplomatic channel where the states usually keep open to have to break the ice and continue engage in open up dialogue. It's actually a pilgrimage path. It's a Kartarpur. Kartarpur, like the name itself says, the city of creator, the God, as the Sikh community, which actually been divided after the partition to 1947, they have a great meaning to that. So this approach from top down for peace between India and Pakistan that never worked out. So my study, this project basically situates Kartarpur as basically as a pioneering experiment, as a translocal and subnational diplomacy where heritage, memory, and mobility, they operate as a peace infrastructures. And for that, basically what I always say, and it's actually the bottom up approach. And that's what we believe it, that if this sort of the corridors be opened, because Pakistan is host to so many religious diasporas, religious actually heritage, so much actually potential Pakistan has it. So if such corridors can function, perform better, the others can also be like Muslim, like Hindus, like other sects too. So the whole debate or whole project is basically stitched on one thread, keeping in mind what the translocal networks are, how this heritage, this memory, this mobility work as a peace infrastructure. And the central idea of this is that what if peace does not begin in treaties as the top-down approach? Why not it actually emerge from the below? Like through like movement, memory, and the ritual. And also the corridors are mostly administered by the states. But it is always the communities, the people like you and me, they are across the border or elsewhere. They give meaning to it, they give ownership to it, and they are the ones that actually the real cause of this sustaining. So but the question is, what is Kartarpur? Kartarpur is basically is a 5 to 6 kilometer long, approximately long corridor, which is situated on India and Pakistan border. It's actually from the other side. It connects basically the two gurdwaras, two religious shrines. One is the Dera Baba Nanak that is situated in Gurdaspur district, India, and it connects to the Darbar Sahib Gurdwara that is in Pakistan. And it's basically like a 5 to 6 kilometer. If you look at this is the Ravi River. This is the international border between that. And it actually connects this Dera Baba Nanak to that Gurdwara's Darbar Sahib. And there is actually the mobility from Indian side to the Pakistan. It is daily routinized mobility where the pilgrims, where the devotees, they basically pass actually these borders, and they perform their rituals too. It opened up basically in 2019 to commemorate 550th birth anniversary of Baba Guru Nanak, who is the founding father of the Sikh religion. And also this religion is also named after that, the city of creator, like Kartarpur too. And it has not just symbolic value to the Sikh, but a fundamental value to them. But after the partition, as it was divided, so all the Sikh community, they can actually have like a, they can view it from the Indian side through the binoculars, but they cannot have the physical access to that. So, uh, and also one more thing is this mobility and ritual is a very carefully structured. It's a regulated regime. It's like it's a visa free. All you can do is just to fill that online form, and then you have those national ID cards and reach at the specified positions, and then you can actually travel to that. And definitely, such corridors are basically administered by the states through what? Through permits, through checkpoints, through surveillance, and through digital actual registration, yes. But this is always the faith, always the belief, always actually the people on the each side, they actually believe in, and then they actually do this. And this ritual, this mobility actually forced that image. And it's a repetitive, it's a regulated, it's everyday. And that's why, and Kartarpur doesn't mean that it erases the border, it dissolves the boundary. No, and it has a wall. No, it simply choreograph the movement. The people come and they go, and it's a one-day activity. And people come, they perform their ritual till 6 p.m., but they are going back. They are not. And also, this whole corridor is heavily guarded. You cannot actually stay away from that, right? You come and you go back to. But the question is, despite all this power-obsessed, realist actually narrative, the India and Pakistan both actually characterizing, they are manifesting their relationship, how this Kartarpur is surviving, how there is only one, because Pakistan-India border is more than 2,000 miles long border. But and the Kartarpur is a very small, tiny, a little cog in the big wheel. Why it is functioning, why it is resisting, why it is enduring, why others, when the diplomacy fail on the other level, like since 2019 when it opened, we were actually having a frozen diplomacy. We were not on the talking terms, right? And since then, there were happened so many even conflicts, either Pulwama, Balakot, even COVID also came, but this remained function. It endured, it resisted, it continued, right? So there is a puzzle that how it is possible due to between India and Pakistan, despite all this hardcore realist narrative, and still it is working, because peace negotiated only at the top, that rarely survives at the bottom, at the street, right? That's the people. It needs to be people centric. It need to be brought among the people. People are the one that improve the image, that how they look at each other. And also linking to that is, and why this peace diplomacy fails, why we are looking on the other side, why. So peace, basically, the first thing is a securitized borderland between India and Pakistan. Borders pose as a fear. They actually pose as a militarized spectacles. Look at that. These pictures. This is the daily theatrics on Wagah border. Both actually the soldiers from India and Pakistan, they perform something. They keep shouting the slogans. And thank God it's just an activity happen, and doesn't it turn up into a military contest every day. But that's also happen. And they see the other picture. It's a complete pensive borders. Like it's not just a few hundred miles, it's more than 2,000 mile border, which is completely fenced, and that actually having a different. And secondly, the mobility, that is the essence of the Kartarpur Corridor. But here, mobility is framed as a threat. Even accidentally, mistakenly, you cross that, then you are considered as infiltrator. You are considered as a threat to that. But only at Kartarpur, when you actually enter, you are not a threat, you are not considered mobility. And the second thing is, Kartarpur also challenges this notion that the peace can always come through the elite engagement, through the bilateral agreements, through actually the summits, or the product of such formal diplomacy. No. It also actually gives another picture. The peace can emerge from the below. When the people meet each other, interact with each other, they actually exchange their views, ideas. They are the real one which soften up. So the culture is the one which actually connects them, and also it actually the one that open up a space for dialogue. And also, this is my favorite line, because given the India-Pakistan securitized narrative, which is not only tested even in the politics, even in the but here it is, when it is the security that always turns up the walls, it creates, like the Trump is also creating the walls too. Even the German have an experience of this wall as well when the people were separated. I know how it hurts too. But it is the peace basically that turns them into the crossing. When the people cross and the path cross, then it's the real mobility. It's how the worldview change. That's how the peace actually emerges too. So let's put actually the Kartarpur in this, because the central idea is that the Kartarpur is a translocal and subnational initiative where the mobility, this heritage, and the memory, shared memory before partition, when they live together, they work as a peace infrastructure. When we can give actually chance to such hard assumption, why not? Let's try it, the mobility and memory of heritage, and let's take it seriously, not just a byproduct of cultural byproduct, but as a peace infrastructure. And let's see, the peace can walk barefoot on the border. It cannot actually be treated as a threat or as infiltrator, but it's that. And also the Kartarpur is, and why Kartarpur is that anomaly, why Kartarpur is different from the rest of the border, and why the mobility only allowed it here. Yes, there are the reason. The very first thing is a governed mobility regime. It's a controlled. It's actually like more than just 5,000 people can actually pass a daily. But yes, due to bureaucratic delays, the number goes around 1,000 or like 1,500, but everyday activity. People come and go back. People come and go back. But and also it's you cannot actually go beyond that wall, that corridor. So you just perform, you came back. Second, mobility beyond hostility. If you look at the border, the whole border is toiled to each other. The soldiers are alert. It's not just few thousand, it's more than 1 million soldiers permanently deployed on India-Pakistan border with the alert position with a heavy machinery, right? But here you just pass through. When the soldiers are staring at each other, you simply cross that. You actually perform and you come back. That's also this one. And the second, memory, borders. Borders are the political markers, right? It actually cannot separate the people from their memory. The people who live together, they have the similar cuisine, culture, folklore, dance, everything. You cannot separate them from their memory. They share a lot in common, and that actually provided them. I joined the force. So the memory is another piece infrastructure which actually bring the people. And it's not just only the people living in Pakistan, India. There are people who are living product with diaspora community, like those translocal actors. They are also the part of it. They share, and they actually give the meaning to that. And the peace beyond treaties. So many treaties we had with Pakistan and India had it, but each time there is a conflict emerge, or somehow there is some like a pop up some situation, all actually such initiative they get destroyed. But Kartarpur, since it opened, it actually resisting, it actually over there. And also the border is a threshold, not a wall. It's just telling them, look, this is crossing for devotion, not for defection. People are not defecting. They are not going to the other side. They are not becoming a threat. Second, it also need to trace back from the history, because this memory, what we imply as a peace infrastructure, need to be traced from before the partition. When the Punjab used to be united, are not divided. Name anything, either Sikh, Muslim, Hindu, they all have the sacred landscape. And this ritual, this pilgrimage was not an exceptional travel. It used to be a daily routine, usual business. People don't need any permit or visa to go like this. It is happening now. And also, the Kartarpur is actually having not just a symbolic value, it is very fundamental to the Sikh religion. And that's why, despite the Sikhs being separated, in the partition in 90, but this Kartarpur memory never faded away from the Sikh conscious. So the desire and the demand and the longing still there. That's why we say, and it also converted into emotional geography, which basically exceeds the political geography, no matter whatever the political borders are, when the people have a different, and that this emotional geography exceeded. That's why the land remembers no matter what the politics forgets to. And the third thing is, that's how the memory, when the borders actually cut through the memory, these borders basically cut their memory, because before that they never thought. Just a fine morning they woke up and they realized they are on the wrong side. They're all the shrines, all the sacred places are on the other side. Now, how they will be going at 14 million, not just a small number, it's one of the biggest ever partition in human history. Millions of people died, killed, women raped, children died. And since then, this partition used even as a securitized narrative, and again pitting the people against each other, and that's how it's even the hatred are keep brewing at that time. Even I myself, being actually the grandson of an Indian migrant family to Pakistan, I even grown up listening those horrible stories. But what should the legacy I be leaving for my own children? Hatred? No, I should actually fight, because I'm not saying actually the reconciliation is forgetting, because I believe reconciliation is basically remembering through alternative, through the other meaning. We need actually to open up. We need to negotiate. Another thing is, it's not the shrines. There is not just the Kartarpur that is the only shrine of the Sikh religion in Pakistan. There are others as well. But yes, they are actually far away from the border. And the only thing is, this one actually on the border, it was easy to control, communicate, guarded as well. Otherwise, there is a Lahore, there is Nankana Sahib, there is a Punjab Sahib, but they are far, far away from the border. And definitely due to, given the security context of India, Pakistan wouldn't ever allow such long corridor. And also, it's not even feasible to keep guarding such a long, actually, the corridor. So it is easy. It's a small one, 5 to 6 kilometers, half in Pakistan, half in India. Secondly, it actually gives access to at least one, might be. Uh, in any manner, it's a daily routine, but it happened. So yes, the Kartarpur, which was actually some of the most fundamental to the Sikh religion, it actually also been separated. And they used to, if you look at the other picture, the people are actually watching it through binoculars. So you can imagine the people keeping deprived from their religious rituals. It's against the fundamental law, fundamental rights too. So again, it also even generated a popular sentiment. It's a moral, it's emotional, it's a religious one too. So the Kartarpur, which was separated, it was visible, but it was unreachable. It has like a visual proximity, but physical deniability. But now it is open. You can come, you can go, you can actually perform. So partition might have divided the land, not the longing, not the desire, not the memory. And still the people have longing, still the people have desire, still the people actually demanding to go back. It's not actually somehow demolishing the border. No, they don't. Kartarpur has a unique quality. It doesn't actually dissolve the border. It doesn't talk about that thing. And also this mobility actually having no political meaning into that, because it's not going beyond that, right? It's actually controlled mobility. That's why it doesn't challenge either side too. Now, that's actually the thing. The fourth one is, Kartarpur isn't something that happened overnight, or because like the Sikh heritage that was very much present in Pakistan for the last 75 years. But Kartarpur corridor to be materialized took 70 years. It always been as ad hoc basis, like diplomatic opening or some open, close, open, close. It remained like this thing is, but it never worked. Why? Because peace is not the absence of the conflict. It is actually the presence of some institution to manage it, to administer it. That's how it always works that. Before that, it never been. That's why sometimes it opens. And formally in 2019, this corridor being materialized, and the people actually now have a visa-free mobility on that too. Now, this daily mobility is actually symbolic, and this is like this can work as I'm not saying it, the Kartarpur has a potential to resolve every conflict between India and Pakistan. It might be smaller, but it's significant. It might be symbolic, but it has a huge value. It can actually give a reminder that if we can open up one corridor for the sake, there are others as well, either be it Muslims, Hindus, and it's a huge border, and as many crossing will be there, as much peace will be there. Now, these are actually the fundamental questions which my project, which my study basically asks. Around that, I have staged the whole debate. The one is the translocal, like how does Kartarpur function as a unique form of the translocal and subnational diplomacy? Because it's not the people living in Pakistan and India. In Pakistan, even the Sikhs are less than the in 1%, and even Sikhs are not majority in India. They are also the minority too. They are like 14 to 16, even different estimate, millions in India, and there are larger diasporas living in UK, Canada, and others too. But yes, they have it. Second, it's a heritage-based mobility. It depends. Yes, heritage, we all knew that how it can be used. But this heritage was already existing before it. But it needs to have an ownership. It needs to make a sense of belonging, like the making actually connection with that. So this heritage, which is present in Pakistan, has a connectivity value or currency for people living in Canada, in UK, even in Germany, right? So these diaspora, actually, the people, they have a connectivity with this heritage. And that's how they basically, with the local, on the both sides, India and Pakistan, at the provincial level, at district level, or even at the individual level, through like digital spaces, activism, cinema, literature, through that they are connected. And the last one is how we can use this peace infrastructure for fostering a durable peace. That's all. So now the question is the Kartarpur. Kartarpur is not entirely national or transnational. It's a translocal. There are people, they are actually living anywhere in the world, but they have a connection to this specific heritage. They have a specific memory attached to this one is, and they are culturally intertwined. They are geographically separated, but culturally intertwined. That's why they have a value. They look Kartarpur as like that one is. So it has a meaning for mobility, memory, and using that. So the pilgrimage to Gurdwara, they represent a recurrent movement that reaffirms cultural and the religious identity. And also those rituals which are performed, they basically give another meaning to that. No matter from where you have traveled, from where have you come, you all perform similar rituals. You all come with the same belief, with the same identity. And also, it actually cultivates emotional geography, which is actually exceeding the political geography. And also, the Kartarpur doesn't question about the border. It doesn't actually say that, yes, but the only demand they talk about access to that. They are having access to that. And that's how this actually, and the Kartarpur that actually, like such actually things, they do not act purely replacing a territorial logic, but they shared a spiritual connection, which basically brought them to. And like the Arjun says, locality is not produced, right? No, sorry, it's produced, not given. So the people, like for instance, we all have the WhatsApp groups, right? But we only have those words. We share the similar connection. So this locality, basing upon that, either profession, religion, sect, language, whatever, it is actually a different one. So the Kartarpur is that trans-local space. No matter you speak German, English, Spanish, Punjabi, Arabic, but you all have a sentimental value and you all actually share the same connection, and that's all. But what are those translocal networks and who keeps them alive? It's not simply because definitely people in the diaspora communities, they always are minority. They are cohesive, they are united, they actually know it. And the Sikh community, they actually have these Gurdwara committees, Prabandhak committees, and through this, and this diaspora communities, which are present in UK, Canada largely, even in US also, they actively advocate for religious freedom and access to these sites. And also then the global Gurdwara committees, which are even another organization which connecting these they stitch into a thread, and for different actually for coordinating efforts and fundraising. And then the transnational Sikh media and advocacy They also do. And like diasporas are not the outside of politics, they are the alternative side of it. But yes, they exert a pressure, they do lobbying, they actually uh, connect to the local, actually, the community societies in India and Pakistan, and through which they stitch basically or the whole network actually, and from there they basically exert pressure, and they actually go for these such demands, access to their religious right. And the second thing is these translocal networks, which they are not present in India and Pakistan. They need a baseline, somebody at the ground. And who are those? These are the subnational actors, which are basically the local governments, which are the local agencies or organizations. These could be any literary organization, could be any cinema, could be any peace activists, NGOs. It could be any form. But yes, for formally align it, you need also access to those. Like India, in Pakistani Punjab, it's a provincial administrator, which basically managing the infrastructure and local logistics. In India, this is the district facilitation, basically for ensuring smooth border access and the visitor experience, right? And also then the Gurdwara Prabandhak committees, which are actually present in India and also Pakistan, which oversee the religious sites and the pilgrim welfare. And then the Sikh religious authorities, they also provide spiritual guidance and the community cohesion. And third one is that the Kartarpur as a peace infrastructure, how the piece is produced, how can you humanize the other, those who are in minority, they are not in the larger in size, so how you can actually humanize them, offering them access to their spiritual places, their sacred geographies, so that it can reinforce kinship and it can, and the shared memory among communities, and normalizing interaction in a historically hostile region. See the Pakistan India, there, there's been one of the worst actually in hostility and enduring rivalry, permanent pride. So it can create emotional investment in continued peace. And here comes summing up the whole thing is the peace infrastructure through translocal groups, subnational diplomacy, and the peace infrastructure. What it actually creates, it creates emotional and the cultural healing path to reconciliation. Basically, contexts like the Kartarpur that serves as a powerful mechanism for emotional repair and the post-conflict therapy. Uh, and also, these sacred spaces and collective rituals address deep-seated trauma, which actually ignited by the partition. If you have to, if you look at the partition, especially, I'll suggest you to study the 1947 archives. This is the oral documentaries. It's one of the greatest trial that actually has documented how this partition happened and where the people actually shared their experiences. That also will explain why the people hated each other right after partition and how the partition still haunted us, despite even after 75 years, still it's over there. So the fundamental message of this is the reconciliation is not forgetting, it's remembering differently. I want to play a little one so you can actually see that why Kartarpur is emotional healing and why. These are basically the two brothers who were separated during the partition. It's not just one story. There are so many stories in thousands. They reunited at Kartarpur. So Kartarpur Corridor also works as emotional healing, where the people got reunited. So these stories, these actually are the emblem, are some of the powerful signals that how such corridors need to be created and how the people should actually be allowed to meet and how the people to people diplomacy should work so the peace could actually emerge from the below, because we have seen the top down approach always hostage to the power obsessed realist paradigms, which always actually decides things to the like the deterrence bound logic, like where you actually prefer to maximize your capacity, and because mostly you believe like it is a power, it's a capacity that gives you actual advantage or security. But if we keep allow the people meeting like that, now see the two people, one is the Muslim, the other one is a Sikh, despite the fact both either were Muslims or both either were Sikhs, but the partition did this damage. So Kartarpur is actually some way offers some repair what the borders has damaged to this. And the thing is, sorry. uh, yeah. It is not all the happy-go-lucky story, whatever the Kartarpur is. It's not all the picture as rosy as it must be. There are genuine constraints which are actually hurting the Kartarpur's durability, and they actually present a paradox. And this is basically mostly our ideational and also the securitized structural one. It is these are political volatility, changing regimes in both in India and Pakistan. They also are the biggest reason for such hindrances. Then unequal access. There is a problem. It's an asymmetric piece because the Indian Sikh or overseas Sikh, they can come, but the Pakistani Sikh cannot go to that side. That's why it is asymmetric. This is huge, actually, the problem. But still, Pakistan come to an agreement. At least there should be a start. Because the 1,000-mile long journey even start with a small first, baby steps too. So let's open up. Let's meet the people. If they cannot go there, they can come over here, right? They can meet, they can interact, they can share the stories too. And also the mandatory digital registration process somehow again overriding security puzzle, which basically. And one more thing is recently the cricket, one of the famous game in India and Pakistan. And it's more like a rivalry like Ashes between England and the uh, Australia, but now in Pakistan and between India and Pakistan, the cricket is being allowed, but this corridor is put on hold since the May 2025, since the recent crisis happened between India and Pakistan. So that's also another powerful reminder that the memory threatens sovereignty more than the sport. So the cricket continues, but the religious diplomacy halted. Here is my last sum up that was actually this thesis all about this project, that how the Kartarpur reimagined its diplomacy through memory and the movement. It's coupled with the translocal networks who actually with the subnational actors, they use memory, mobility, and heritage as a piece of infrastructure. And the Kartarpur is more than a physical pathway. It is a method, a living testament to diplomacy forged through shared memory, facilitated movement, and collective meaning. It challenges traditional state-centric views, demonstrating that peace can instead be built from below and it can sustain from within. So where the states draw the lines, the people draw the paths. Thank you very much. I'll end up, and thank you very much for joining. And once again, to everybody.